Guess who's back? Back again. Brother run. Tell a friend. Guess who's back and still black? Guess who's back and still black? Guess who's back and still black? It's your friend, your pal, your guy, Brother Run. And this is We All Be a News Free Dixie for the 21st century. That's right, it's Brother Run. We all be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. It's been a long time. It's been very tiring for me. I'm tired and inspired. So I said, let me just go live. Kick it with the people. Hope y'all can hear me loud and clearly with no interference. So I just want to do a live on Resurrection Sunday. It's a fun day, but it's Resurrection Sunday. Thinking about the original Black Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus, Jesus, whatever y'all call him, Mr. Magic, I don't know, Mr. Midas, I don't know. But there's a lot to talk about. I'm glad to be here with you all. And this is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. Tell your friends, tell your kin. We better get it on and popping in here because it's been too long. But I hope everybody's doing fine. Just had some thoughts. So let me just go ahead and go all the way live and share these thoughts. And I can probably do it in 90 minutes. You know, there's a lot of things I do want to talk about. But let's get on in. So a lot of things going on in the news cycle. It is still our eyes on Tennessee. And I definitely want to talk about the Tennessee 3. Some more thoughts I have about the Tennessee 3. I want to shout out Dana with the data for letting me on her platform earlier this Sunday, this Resurrection Sunday, to talk about my home state, the volunteer state, Tennessee. Can't you see? All eyes on me, Memphis. It's a joke they got. People talk about Memphis. They call it Mifrica. No, Memphis in Africa, Mifrica. It's supposed to be a put down. I don't see it as a put down because there's a lot of soul in Memphis and Shelby County. The blackest part of Tennessee is Memphis, Shelby County. A lot of culture, a lot of richness, a lot of heritage that we as Memphians, or what my friend brother Egpe Abioto would say, he calls Memphites. That we got a sister city in Egypt, Memphis, Egypt, and Memphis, Egypt back in the day was a center for commerce and religious commerce, economic commerce. It was a city of culture. And people want to say, well, it was a city of the dead, city of religion, of culture, just like Memphis is a city of religion and culture. A lot of interesting things, and people come through here, get incubated, get started, and gets out to the world. And also, I want to make correction. I said last podcast, I didn't know people really enjoyed that podcast. A lot of people sending me a lot of feedback through text, email, comments, whatever, donations. If you like the words for Brother Herb, please spread the word, man. Make a donation. I meant to say Kimmons Wilson, not August Wilson. The person who started Holiday Inn in Memphis was a white guy named Kimmons Wilson. And I said August Wilson. So that's why I said, people, y'all do your own research. Don't always listen to us talking heads. We make mistakes. We human. We are human, man. At least I am. I can't speak for anybody else. I'm a human and I'm going to make mistakes. Not a disinfo agent by any means. Not at all. Let me see. I'll make sure. Let's check on some things. Anyway, let's get started. I feel so limited because I'm a human being. It's so much stuff I want to do. I wish I could do more lives and create more content, but sometimes I get caught up in this thing called life. I'm always chasing my tail, chasing the dollar, chasing something. And I wish I could do more. But if you want to see more from Brother Hurt, you know what to do. support this cause. We are celebrating our 17th anniversary of the We All Be movement. I started We All Be. I was inspired to start We All Be April Fool's Day of all days, April Fool's Day 2006, when I was in New Orleans, advocating for the folks to come back home, to wait, because they'll try to do voting, early voting. And a lot of the people who lived in New Orleans or Nolens was not even back home, let alone in the state. So we was protesting the early voting. That's when Ray Nagin was still mayor of New Orleans. It was weird because I was on the same bridge, the black folks were trying to escape New Orleans in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina and FEMA. They were denied entry to a parish. I think Gretna Parish, I believe. Gretna Parish. So we was actually marching on the bridge towards that parish to make a point. I believe Al Sharpton, right reverend or wrong, right, whatever you want to say. It could be wrong reverend. It could be the right reverend for whoever's digging this Al Sharpton character. His National Action Network was involved in organizing the march along with some other people like Congressional Black Caucus and other folks. And I remember vividly they had John Legend doing a mini concert on the bridge, I believe. He was performing on the bridge. I think he had a piano up there on the bridge that we were walking towards into Gretna Parish that was denied. And there's a lot of things that happened in Katrina in the aftermath that we have never gotten answers to. I want to give a shout out to the Honorable Sister Queen Mother Cynthia McKinney, who basically career was destroyed for trying to be a public servant and a truth teller. I kind of wish that the Honorable Cynthia McKinney got the same support as we are seeing for the so-called Tennessee Three. I had a chance to cross paths with Justin Pearson. We're going to talk about this in the show. But I wish the Honorable Cynthia McKinney had gotten the same support and love from the people because of what she was doing. Like, she told people, this is before the days of social media and all this stuff. This is before all this stuff that we take for granted now. She talking about how black folks were getting hunted down in Louisiana after the Katrina fiasco. How you had white folks forming hunting parties, going raccoon hunting, as they say. You know what we talking about? And we forgot about that. Like, she was talking about how people were getting slaughtered and people thought she was crazy. And then come to find out, you had the Danziger Bridge incident where those law enforcement officers shot and killed a lot of them black men on that bridge. Yet the brother, I don't think his last name was Glover, the one who got killed by the police and was found in his car. I think the car was burnt out. Police killed him, murdered him in cold blood, and left him in his car. I think they set the car on fire. I'm not sure, but what I am sure is that the things I'm referencing actually did happen. And you can take a look, it's all online. So I want y'all to be encouraged. Stop letting us talking heads on here tell y'all, well, if the sky is blue, but we tell y'all it's purple, y'all go along with it anyway, just because y'all don't want to do the work it takes to do the research to internalize some of these things. You see, I'm a deep diving dude when it comes to knowledge and knowledge itself. And it could be it could wear on you. It wears on me. They say misery loves company. And sometimes having a lot of information, whether it's good or bad, that's up to interpretation and sharing it. It can seem like a form of misery. Because when you have a heart and you find out some things that are just so atrocious, whatever you want to call it, and you don't always want to be the bearer of bad news, but at the same time, you don't always want to be the one burdened with knowing what you know. Sometimes it's best to share. It's like with Dick Gregory. People will say, well, why? How did Dick live so long if he's not an agent? The best way you live long like that is to not keep secrets. One thing Baba Dick Gregory would do when somebody said, I want to tell you a secret, he makes it a secret no more. He tells as many people as he can. Because what's the point of getting rid of him if 1,000 people already know about it? That's how you stay alive. You share knowledge. You want to live forever? Share what you know. That's powerful. That's power in there. Information is power for a reason. Knowledge is the currency of the universe for a reason. But the Honorable Cynthia McKinney tried to be a public servant for the people. It cost her career. She was one of the first public officials or elected officials to call for an independent investigation to 9/11. It cost her the first time around. You know, they had the incident with the Capitol Hill police. Yeah, like they didn't know who she was. She had a new hairstyle. She'd been there for several terms by that time. But the Capitol Hill police swore they didn't know who she was. So she had an incident that made national headlines when the Capitol Police, violated her, disrespected her. Because they said we didn't recognize her because she had a new hairstyle, some bull crap. But she spoke for the people. They uh they played around with her district. They did some like redistricting, like I think they did a redistricting measure when she held the seat. She lost her seat due to that when they changed her district around. There's a lot of things that they did to Cynthia McKinney. To me, I will call what they did to Cynthia McKinney. She is a classic case to me of a targeted individual, especially because she was outspoken about the situation as it relates to Israel and Palestine, the Palestinians versus the Israelis. Very outspoken about that. So we don't have, I'm saying, like, we don't have those type of people anymore in office. She was less of a dying breed. The Honorable Cynthia McKinney. Uh, but she knows a lot of the shenanigans that was going on post Katrina, and folks thought she was crazy spinning the urban tales, but now we know it's true. But the problem is, where is the follow up or follow through? On to the next. Like I said, has that been an arrest in the Shanquilla Robeson femicide case? Femicide, we call it femicide down in Mexico when a woman get killed. Femicide. Has there been an arrest? Like, it was all this uproar towards the end of last year about this case, but where's the follow through, Black people? Where's the full court pressure? We love sports. We more passionate about LSU being disrespected by First Lady Dr. Jill Biden than we are about our own liberation and about seeing things follow through. So, with that said, I want to talk about. I think I got a couple things I want to talk about, but let me start by we all be in it to win it, y'all. I want to thank y'all for coming out here. Y'all could have been on anybody's live stream, but you chose mine. You are appreciated, family. If you like the words from Brother Herb, please spread the word. We all be TV, one word. Subscribe, become a member, support the channel, cash out your support, all that yada. We'll talk about that. But every April the 9th, I think about that gentleman in that photo, my paternal grandfather, the late great Herbert Hurd Sr., who got unalive, as y'all like, unalive, who got neutralized April 9th, 1970. Very questionable circumstances. And so every April 9th is kind of somber, especially this one, like he's on Resurrection Sunday. So, I mean, he was like a black messiah in his own right. He was like what that headline said, that's who he was, leader of concerned blacks up in Saginaw, Michigan. So I never had the chance to meet my paternal grandfather in the flesh, but I am very familiar with his spirit of giving, of serving the community, of being a connoisseur of knowledge as it relates to our people, so-called black people. But I want to read what I wrote about him and also the obituary that was written about him, which I thought was very interesting for him to get the type of respect as a black man back in 1970 after the 1960s. So Let me read something. But thank y'all for tuning out to tune in and get in when you fit in. And this is how you keep our memories alive. I want to encourage people to research their family trees, because the work that you may be doing or may be unsure about may be your calling, may be your ancestral calling, excuse me. If somebody in your family trees that may have already done this work, they have provided you a blueprint that you need to access and figure out, how can you add to that so-called blueprint? How can you make this calling, how can you cater the calling to your own talents and gifts? But let me read what I wrote about my grandfather, Herbert Hurd Sr., and also the obituary. This is from today. Today, April 9th, 2023, this Resurrection Sunday marks the 53rd anniversary of the death of Herbert Hurd Sr., my paternal grandfather, under very questionable circumstances. He was crushed to death by a falling skylight at the foundry where he worked for 20 years. He was only 44 years young. He was the father of 8 children. 7 made it to adulthood. My aunt Stephanie Elaine Wilson, who was the eldest sibling or eldest child, made her righteous ancestral transition in that dreadful 2020. But the remaining 6 are still thriving. Grandfather Herbert was married to my beautiful grandmother, Letha Brito, for 20 years. Her maiden name was French, of course. He was a real Black leader, community organizer, and artivist in his own right. He was a real man of action. He was a real man of action, and he loved his people, Black people. He was tall, dark, and handsome, and also epitomized the strong, silent type. But when he spoke, people paid attention, like E.F. Hutton. See how it works, man? I'm going to read the local or the obituary that came out in the local newspaper in Saginaw, Michigan, concerning his life, that is included with this post. The title says, "Leader of Concerned Blacks Dies." That pretty much sums up who he was. What happened at that foundry was no accident. He was murdered. But most murders are hard to prove. My beautiful Aunt Stephanie Elaine Wilson, my grandparents' eldest child, received a phone call while away at college from a female who told her that her father was dead. She called home in a panic and understandably upset by the bad news. However, my grandfather was still very much alive and having dinner with the family. I believe my grandmother answered the phone and told her that it wasn't true and that he was currently having dinner with the family. From my understanding, when my grandfather found out what traumatized his daughter, he replied with something akin to "not yet," in a calm and stoic manner. I was told other things about my grandfather's last days that I will save for another time, but from what I was able to gather, he already knew that he was fated to die young. I never had the chance to meet my grandfather in the flesh because he died a decade before I was born. However, I know and have met his spirit. It is a true honor to have his DNA and blood running through me. I am blessed to be a part of his living legacy, and I hope before I leave this mortal coil, I could pass it on to another generation, man. My God work speaks for itself, and I know that the best is yet to come. Somewhere, man. Rest well, Granddad Herbert, and may you also continue to inspire from the great beyond. We love you madly, your grandson. Okay. And let me read the obit, the actual obit from April 1970. It starts out with "Leader of Concerned Blacks Dies." by Frank J. Kuntz, staff writer. Saginaw's Negro community lost one of its behind the scenes leaders with the death Thursday evening of Herbert Hurd, 44 of 134 South 12th. He was killed Thursday in an accident at the Chevrolet Gray Iron Foundry. A skylight fell from the roof and pinned him beneath it. Foundry officials who said they weren't sure what caused the skylight to fall were investigating the accident today. And that's been over 50 years ago. So what was the conclusion? That's what I want to know. Some 53 years later. Mr. Hurd was one of the leaders of concerned Saginaw Black people. Although his name didn't appear in the news, he was active in many fields. He served on the Saginaw Area Catholic Board of Education, was a member of the board of directors of the Saginaw Model City Involvement Corp, and helped organize programs at First Ward Community Center. Mr. Hurd and Reuben Daniels, director of the First Ward Center, were close friends. I went to him often for advice, said Daniels, and much of the advice he gave me I put into practice at the center. We never argued, but he always seemed to be able to see things in a different way. He never said much, but what he said was very effective. And I don't think I ever seen a better father or family man. Mr. Hurd was very interested in Negro history and often loaned books on the subject to his friends. Although his formal education wasn't impressive, Mr. Hurd was ambitious. He wanted to be a television repairman. After working at the foundry for 20 years as a production worker, he entered the electrician apprenticeship program last year to gain the training he wanted. Born in Guthrie, Oklahoma, March 13th, 1926, he moved here in 1949 to take the job at the foundry. He married Letha French at Auburn, Indiana in 1950. He was a member of St. Joseph's Catholic Church, where he helped organize the adult education program. He also was a member of United Auto Workers Local 668, and at one time was the district committeeman. Harry W. Brown, a former UAW 668 officer, was saddened by Mr. Hurd's death. He was just an interested guy, says Brown. There are too few of them around. We could use more men like him. In addition to his wife, Mr. Hurd leaves 3 daughters and 4 sons. Funeral arrangements will be made by the Brown Mortuary. Okay, that's the official obit from Saginaw's paper back in the day. Now, I will tell you this, just to close this off. I had talked to my grandmother, his widow, my grandma Letha French Hurd Brito, about what happened. And she did believe, she passed on in 2016, that he was murdered. And she said something to the effect that, that the fellows that worked with my grandfather on the job that he was close to a certain degree, that worked with him on things, they allegedly all got promoted. After he died, a lot of those guys in his circle got promoted and allegedly told their wives not to associate with my grandmother. Don't cut off all ties with my grandmother. So that was really interesting. That came from her mouth about the aftermath. And I believe the foundry kept paying her money until her youngest child came of age, my Aunt Kathy. So she got payouts from Chevrolet Foundry place, whatever. She probably could have sued them, but they ended up like agreeing to paying her money. I'm not gonna necessarily say it was hush money, but I mean, you got to think about this back in the 70s. She's a widow. She still had 6 kids. Remember, she still had my Aunt Stephanie was out the house. She was in college when her father got killed. But my Uncle Herbert, he was about to graduate from high school, but she still had a young family to raise. And she ended up marrying Neville Brito, who was an Indian from India. He was a educator. My grandpa Brito, was an educator from India, and the rest is history. They stayed married for almost 42 years. So my grandmother was married 62 years out of her 88 years on the planet. And like I call them the odd couple of love because like Indians, normally have arranged marriages and whatnot. And for him to decide to marry my grandmother, who was a widow with a young family, was interesting. They were made for because they died within a month of each other. My grandma Brito died early August of 2016, and then my grandpa Neville died at the end of August of 2016. They found him in the kitchen, dead in her favorite chair. I mean, he used to write her love letters every day when he went to work. He would write her love letters. So I mean, they had a strong bond. So I don't know, but my biological grandfather it's like he was a very amazing man. Wish I could have met him, but thank God for his service and for his sacrifice and for helping me come here. Like, it's something that I want to share with my family and especially with those not yet born about this amazing man. May he never be forgotten. May his sacrifice or death not be in vain. So I just want to salute my grandfather, Herbert Hurd Sr., on the 53rd anniversary of his death, which happened to be Resurrection Day 2023. So keep that moving. But now I want to talk about, let me see, I'll check out the chats because I've been on freestyle mode. Okay, I see. Okay, good crowd. Hey, Sister Gail, thanks for tuning out and tuning in to get in where you fit in. Appreciate it. Somebody said, only Jesus, the black man had the back of Jordan. Okay, that's interesting. He said, yeah, it's a powder keg. The whole state of Tennessee is like a powder keg waiting to explode. Yeah, Kemet. Yep. They call Egypt back in the day. Ancient Kemet. Yeah, but they knew what they was doing. They named Memphis, Tennessee, Memphis. This city was founded by the likes of Andrew Jackson. He was one of the founding fathers of Memphis, Tennessee. And Freemasonry has its roots in Egypt and Kemet. Shaq, thank you for tuning out and tuning in, sir. Good to see you. Yeah, man, we don't appreciate those who serve us. We punish those who really have our best interests in heart. In order to serve our people, you got to love our people beyond our self hatred, man. So Cindy McKinney is a ride, I think. I've been trying to reach out to her. I have been lucky in reaching out to her, but I can understand she might be burnt out, or she just like she feel like she might have just gave it her all this time for her some me time. But we don't really respect and honor those. We all get caught up in the bling bling of things. Hey, brother John, long time no here, man. It's good to see you on this. Oh, Law Dog, thank you for checking in. I've been thinking about you. So I'm glad you are here and you are alert. I didn't know if you was had that Macaroni Union waitlist song on repeat and you was getting a lot of sleep this weekend, but I hope you are well rested and know that the best is yet to come. Oh yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But it do seem like we in like a some type of simulation, like we in a matrix. That's another show. Are we living in a matrix? I would say yeah. All right, I hear you loud and clear. Man, let me get $20. I need a 20 right now. Everybody been dipping into my pockets. He's been having like surprise bills and everything, man. So if y'all want to donate, feel free. Express yourself by giving a donation, man. I need a hold of 20. I need me a couple of Jacksons. But anyway, let me move on to I want to talk about the Tennessee Three. It's been a hot topic, and but let's talk about now. This is an interesting story, but I want to talk a little bit about Justin Pearson. I had the chance to cross paths with Mr. Pearson. To me, he's a very impressive young man. I'm still trying to figure out, who sent him per se, but I met him actually back in May of last year at this Poor People's Campaign rally they had at the National Civil Rights Museum. Reverend William Barber was the second or third. He's a minister out of North Carolina. He was leading the Moral Mondays, where they would go to the state capitol on Mondays to protest and rally the troops. So he's supposed to be like the successor to Dr. King. Like the powers that be want us to believe that he is the successor to Dr. King and the Poor People's Campaign that Dr. King started over 55 years ago that got him assassinated in Memphis. So they came for a campaign rally stop because they had an event. They had a march on Washington event for June the 18th, 2022. And that's why I counted Justin Pearson. Justin Pearson was called on to, I guess, say a prayer before we convened the rally at the museum. Also, the late great Sister Queen Mother Georgia King spoke at the rally, one of our Memphis civil rights icons, who we lost this year, back in February of this year, unfortunately. But Justin Pearson, I want y'all to check him out. This is the brother who got expelled along with Justin Jones, I believe Gloria Johnson. They called the Tennessee Three. These are the state legislators who were expelled by the Tennessee state legislature this past Thursday. But I want to show y'all what I saw of Mr. Pearson, because I knew about Mr. Pearson's work as a grassroots activist to shut down the building of the Bahia pipeline. They wanted to build a pipeline through Memphis to get oil, but it could have probably contaminated our drinking water now. I think our drinking water been contaminated, but that's another story. But he led a protest. He organized grassroots activism, mobilized people where they got the attention. They got national attention. Even Al Gore came down here to stand in solidarity with Justin Pearson and some of the local Memphis activists who shut down the idea to build a pipeline through some of the city's poorest neighborhoods, black neighborhoods. This is a very black city, one of the poorest big cities in America, but that's by design because Memphis got resources, but the resources are not the wealth is not shared. And we'll touch on that a little bit, but Justin was pretty impressive to me. I want to play his speech or prayer he did at the Poor People Campaign rally at the National Civil Rights Museum back in May of last year. And then we'll get to the, nitty gritty of it. See if I can play it. Okay, we're gonna play it. We all be news.
Yeah, okay. Hey, everybody. Okay, very good. We're going to figure this thing out.
All right, Justin.
All right. Quick note, if you have not registered yet, as Bishop said, please text here, and we have our volunteers. There's Patty to fill out cards. We're filling out buses to go to D.C. on June 18th, and we want Memphis to show up and to show up there because some of the words that echo from this sacred spot is Dr. King's words before he came to Memphis. He was talking with his team, and Bishop knows that he was talking with his team. And they were saying, Doc, you need to go to D.C. You need to just go focus on what's happening there. Don't care about what's happening with the sanitation workers here in Memphis. Don't worry about Cornelia Crenshaw. Don't worry about the 1,500 black folk and white folk and seamstresses and all those folk who decided to quit working in order to demand justice. And he looked at his team and he screamed at them. And he cursed at him a little bit, and he said, the movement lives or dies in Memphis.
That's right.
He told him the movement lives or dies with the social location of poor folk. It lives or dies with the social location excluded and marginalized. And I believe that we've got reason here to know that the movement is alive. Because if anybody doubted in Memphis, or if you doubted it in Tennessee or Arkansas or Mississippi, if a movement was alive, today you've gotten your answer. Today you found out that the movement is alive here. So whether you're from Memphis or Maine, the movement is alive. Now we know that we got challenges that we face. We've got a big fight that's ahead of us. We got a big fight that's ahead of us, whether you're in Memphis or Mississippi. These interlocking injustices of systemic racism and systemic poverty, of ecological devastation and the denial of health care, of the false moral narrative of religious nationalism and militarism. We pay for bombs but can't give a child tax credit. We know that we've got some challenges for us to face. And we know that billionaires are trying to become trillionaires, and they've become the people that folks have aspired to be.
Yes, sir.
Instead of the servants that God calls us to be. We know that we've got some challenges.
Sir.
But our ancestors have a lesson for us. Yes, and from this sacred and hallowed spot from which Dr. King's soul ascended, I believe that we've got a reason to believe that we can rise to the challenge.
That's right.
We've got a reason to believe that we will rise to the challenge.
Yes,
well, how do we know that we can rise to the challenge? Well, it's because I learned something about crucifixions, Pastor Jackson.
Yes, sir.
And I learned a little something about resurrections, Dr. Liz. God didn't put a period after the crucifixion.
That's right.
No, there was no period after the crucifixion. That wouldn't be the end.
That's right.
Instead, there was a resurrection that came after. And so in this sacred place where they remind us all the time about the crucifixion of the assassination, today we claim a resurrection. Today we claim a resurrection. So this holy place of crucifixion, this day, we claim it to be a place of resurrection. Well, what is it that will resurrect? Where they tried to crucify us in Buffalo, we claim resurrection of possibility. Where they tried to crucify us with the pipeline and poison our water, we claim resurrection of a united community. Where they claim crucifixion in these jails at 201 Poplar with their truth in sentencing laws they just passed. Change will begin, that shackles will fall. Where they claim crucifixion with 300 babies in our city killed by violence, we claim resurrection to an end of the poverty and an end of the systems that are killing us. So in this place where there has too often been attention on the crucifixion, we claim that resurrection is possible. We claim that we will rise. We claim that we are the resurrection. God's not through with us yet. God's not through with us yet. God's not through with us yet.
Yes, sir.
Glory.
Yes, sir.
Glory.
Yes, sir.
Glory.
Somebody shout, we claim the resurrection. We claim a resurrection. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, we're getting ready to sing. There's an army rising that can break every chain. Come on, Yara. Come on, sing.
And we claim a resurrection, right? And this is We All Be. And that was my first time encountering Brother Justin Pearson in live and living color. Very impressive communicator, very passionate, charismatic. He evokes Dr. King, his cadence and everything. He got it down to a science. It's pretty impressive. I mean, like y'all, he just feeling himself in the spirit. And so I actually was impressed. And Reverend William Barber is an impressive orator as well, too. But my thing is, like, it's weird because they talk about poor people's campaign, right? And I'm sure Reverend William Barber was staying in a very nice hotel. He was in a stretched SUV limousine type of deal. I think about Dr. King when you think about the poor people's campaign from 55 years ago versus what they call them poor people's campaign. Dr. King spent the majority of his adult life trying to raise money. He never had enough money. Shout out. Thank you, Brother John Williams, for your donation. We love you madly, sir. Thank you so much. That's going to come in handy for gas this week. I appreciate it. Dr. King never had enough money. The movement never had enough money to really function the way it could have functioned. Imagine if Dr. King and them got the money that Black Lives Matter LLC got a couple years back. Well, they think they raised about $90 million from corporations and other entities. Imagine Dr. King had that type of money. What would he have done with that? Think about how much it cost. I think it cost how much it cost to build that King Memorial in DC was like $100 million. So you got the same corporations that couldn't stand Dr. King, the same mainstream media infrastructure that villainized and demonized Dr. King towards the end of his life. They advocated for King, and guess what? Wait till 2027. They trying to bring King down. They're gonna release the documents to the National Archives to the public supposedly in 2027 that is going to make Dr. King like a horrible, terrible, in the words of Charles Barkley, a terrible person. To me, there's nothing they could do to Dr. King. They'll make him less of a saint than he is in my eyes. He was a man. He was a human being. They said they did his autopsy, Dr. King's autopsy. He had the heart of a 60-plus-year-old man. He was under so much pressure that at the age of 39, he had the heart of a 60-year-old man. Think about all the stuff he went through the last 13 years of his life on the planet. The stress, the chain smoking, the drinking, the womanizing. People make claims about his last night on the planet, what was going on in room 306. 3 plus 6 is 9, right? Think about the victims, the shooting victims, the mass shooting at that Christian school in Nashville. You had 3 victims that were 9 years old. They were 9 years old, according to reports of what I heard. I haven't really looked into that, but I think that the 3 school victims were 9 years old. 9 is the number of endings, and beginnings is the number of completion in numerology. So Dr. King got killed. What room was 306, 306. 3 plus 6 is 9. So I'm not going to get out to that, but to me, whatever they got in the National Archives could not do that much damage. Like with Trump. Like I compared Trump to MLK. They're very similar in a way, is that because they both were at one point media darlings, right? They were darlings of the media. Then they became pariahs. They became the personalities nobody wanted. Like they were the problem. They were the enemies of the state. There's people that still believe the Russian collusion BS that was proven not true. We had to go through a whole term. He had to go through his whole first term. We had to go through one term of Trump being witch hunted with this Russian collusion BS. And I'm gonna get back on point, but let me talk about Mr. Pearson. I get all off track. Let me stay on point. Mr. Pearson, when I first heard him speak, it reminded me of when I heard Barack Obama for the first time. I didn't know who Barack Obama was. I was looking at the Democratic National Convention. I think that was 2004. Was in Massachusetts, right? So in Kennedy's backyard. So Obama came to speak. He was in a Senate race in Illinois, and he spoke to a national audience, to a big national audience. And I can remember watching his speech from the Democratic National Convention. And I was on the phone with a college classmate who just came back from Africa. He had did a stint in the Peace Corps, and we was talking, and we were looking at that man's speech. And I can remember like it was yesterday. What I told him, I said, you know what, that man's gonna be president by 2012. Well, I told my classmate that this guy was gonna be president by 2012. And sure enough, Barack Obama was president in 2012, working on his second term, right? So I look at Justin Pearson. They got big things planned for this brother, bigger than being a state representative. But he had to get his start somewhere, like Barack Obama, the community organizer, right? So, I mean, who's writing these scripts, right? You said the Tennessee Three, and we got 3 stars in the Tennessee state flag. There are 3 stars in the Tennessee state flag. Is that a coincidence? Who writing these scripts, man? Who writing these scripts? All right. Who writing the scripts? And people talking about, well, I don't trust this guy. How you get the afro and the dashiki and all that? And look, Dr. King said it. He said that human salvation lies in the hands of the crazily maladjusted, right? You know, God got an interesting sense of humor. I'm just trying to find something right quick. I'm trying to find. Got a lot of tabs. I don't see all my tabs on here. God got an interest. It's like, okay, the top black lawyer, the most recognized black lawyer right now, right? Oh, my screen freezing. I'm gonna work through them. The most recognized black lawyer is Ben Crump. He's the one that people call to get the bag. But who was 20 years ago? It was Johnny Cochran, right? 25, 20 years ago, 27, 30 years ago. You call Johnny Cochran. Now people call Ben Crump. But Ben Crump, he fits the times that we live in. He's the guy for right now. And God got an interesting sense of humor. But I'm trying to find, let me see. Okay. Please forgive me. I'm just trying to work through some stuff. Okay. I think I got it. And we are living some interesting times right now. Let's see. I'm going to share this picture. That's me with brother Justin. The same day he gave that speech, that prayer speech at the Civil Rights Museum back in May of 2022. Like, I definitely was impressed. I met his mom. I thought his mom was his sister. She looked so young, but she was a teenage mother she had her kids early. And Justin is 28, but his mom, like, she was in her 20s herself. But I was impressed with the brother. And I said, man, I commend you on your work on stopping the Bahia pipeline from being built in our city. And I said, may the ancestors continue to bless and guide you and protect you on your journey. Because he actually spoke at the Poor People's Campaign in D.C. as well. When they had the campaign in D.C., the Poor People's Campaign rally, March on Washington, back in June 18th, he was a speaker there as well too. So he was being groomed for what he's doing now, right? But who sent this guy? That's the question. And I did some research on Justin. So he was born January the 7th, 1995. So he's a Capricorn like Dr. King. Dr. King was a Capricorn. So they're great at communicating. That's an earth sign. They're great at communicating. Ali was a Capricorn. Great with wordplay, things of that nature. Charisma, natural leadership abilities. He actually, he became a state rep because he took the place. He ran for a seat that was vacated in death by State Rep Barbara Cooper. I knew Mrs. Cooper. I saw her around town at different functions and whatnot. She was almost 100 years old. And she had on a phone call we had a conference call that she was on while she was campaigning, because we was talking some other business, but she was on the conference call, and she was like bragging about the fact that she was like the oldest politically active in office Democrat in the country, because she was about almost 100 years old, and she ended up dying in October of last year while she was running for office. And so Justin Pearson saw the opportunity to run for District 86. Well, crazy. I'm gonna tell you, it will make it crazy. Barbara Cooper died, and she still won her seat. She still won her seat. Like, she died, and people still voted for her, and she won her seat in death. So they had a runoff, whatever they did, and Justin ran for that special election, and he won very handily. So he won very convincingly. And like I said, he has certain entities and things behind him to run for office. Like, there's really this Tennessee 3 thing is propelling him to the national spotlight. So I don't know what they have planned for Justin at this point. It's gonna be interesting. But who is this person? Like I said, he was born January 7, 1995. He said Justin Pearson was born in Memphis, Tennessee. His father was a preacher and his mother a teacher. When he was 11 years old, his family moved to Washington, D.C., while his father pursued a master's degree at Howard University. 4 years later, they returned to Memphis, where he was shocked at the contrast between his previous high school in Centerville, Virginia, and his new school, which was conspicuously underfunded, at Mitchell High School in inner city Memphis. At Mitchell in Black Haven. We call it Black Haven. That's White Haven, but we call it Black Haven. Uh, Pearson became active in student government, lobbied for textbooks and AP classes, and joined the debate team. He graduated as valedictorian of his high school class. I don't even know if Mitchell is still open. I think they closed Mitchell. It could be open still. I don't know. In 2017, Pearson graduated from Baldwin College in Brunswick, Maine, majoring in government and legal studies with a minor in education studies. While at Baldwin, he was a Mellon Mays Fellow, and he was accepted to the Summer Public Policy Institute at the Princeton School of Public and International Affairs. So he's in that pipeline. They got him in the pipeline. They're grooming him for something. So he's going to the right schools. He's part of the right fellowships and all these fellows and all this stuff. So he didn't happen out of a. He's being groomed for whatever he's being groomed. Okay, and I'm not saying that's good or bad, but I'm saying kind of understand. Pearson founded the advocacy group Memphis Community Against Pollution, formerly known as Memphis Community Against the Pipeline, which successfully fought to cancel the Bahia pipeline. The pipeline was planned to run for 49 miles, including over the Memphis Sand Aquifer, which is used to provide water to residents in the Memphis area. The pipeline also was planned to run through poor black neighborhoods in South Memphis. This is a good thing. When people say they suspect of this brother, this is a good thing he did, because I could tell you, growing up in South Memphis, we had an old defense depot that's right next to the Kellogg cereal processing plant. This is how weird things are. You got a Kellogg cereal processing plant next to the old defense depot, but they got chemicals leaking into the ground. It's been proven there's some type of chemicals that have been leaking into our ground in our neighborhoods in that area. There have been a lot of people getting cancer, including my grandparents have died from cancer. I have cousins who lived in the area who died from cancer. Young Dolph, one of the last things he did on the planet was visit that cancer institute that treated his families who were victims of cancer. I met his aunt, who was over his board of directors for his nonprofit. She passed away from cancer before the year was out last year. So you got all these people. Young Dolph probably could have had cancer because he was living in Castalia. And Castalia Heights is right by the Kellogg cereal processing plant, right by the old defense depot, where the chemicals been leaking to the ground for decades. So you're dealing with environmental racism and everything. So what he did with the Bahia pipeline, whatever you may feel about his stance on the gun issue, I'm glad he was able to help stop that because it got national attention. Even Al Gore, who's from Tennessee, his daddy was a very popular Tennessee politician, Al Gore Sr. Even he came down to stand in solidarity with Justin Pearson and this movement and the other activists. So to me, that's a win. That's in the win column for him. Obama, they say he was a community organizer, but where is the works? Where is the evidence of his good works? Where this guy could say, I stopped a pipeline for being built in the hood that could have did a lot of not only environmental damage, but could have a lot of health consequences for the people who live in these poor communities. So I will give him that. I will applaud him. That's why I was impressed with that alone as a young guy in his 20s, be able to pull something like that off. Then to hear him speak that May Day, they're really like, wow, this guy is something special. Okay. But you see he's very well educated. Comes from and I met his family. I met his mom, beautiful mom, and some of his other people. He comes from a very beautiful family. So whatever you may think about him, he comes from a very loving environment to me. Mother and father very active in their children's lives. So that's a good thing. Let me see. What is a Mellon Mays Fellow? So the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation of New York City, United States, simply known as the Mellon Foundation, is a private foundation with 5 core areas of interest and endowed with wealth accumulated by the Andrew Mellon of the Mellon family of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It is the product of the 1969 merger of the Avalon Foundation and the Old Dominion Foundation. These foundations have been set up separately by Elsa Mellon Bruce and Paul Mellon. I guess Elsa. I guess so. The children of Andrew Mellon. Okay. Said the foundation is housed in New York City in the expanded former offices of the Bollinging Foundation, another educational philanthropy once supported by Paul Mellon. Poet and scholar Elizabeth Alexander is the foundation's current president. Her predecessors have included Earl Lewis, Don Randall, William G. Bowen, John Edward Sawyer, and Nathan Pusey. In 2004, the foundation was awarded the National Medal of Arts. Okay, this whatever. It's like being some of these folks become Rhodes Scholars, be selected to become Rhodes Scholars. You know what I'm saying? Like I think Susan Rice was a Rhodes Scholar. Bill Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar. So you got all these foundations that they want to shape the so-called future leaders. I know people. I went to school with people that got Bill Gates scholarships. When the Bill Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they had their Gates scholarship. I met some people back in the early 2000s who were recipients of those scholarships, and very, very smart people, very accomplished at an early age. And with that scholarship, they would not only pay for your undergraduate degree, they would have paid for you to get your advanced degrees, like your masters and whatever you were pursuing. They would have paid for everything. So I know people who were able to have successful careers based on being Gates scholars. And I know some who were Gates scholars, but they went their own beaten path. They made their own path. They created their own lane. They didn't go get the advanced degrees they could have got with the support of the Gates Foundation. They just went on and did their own thing, and they're happy, or they just, whatever. So I'm not saying that because he's a Mellon Mays Foundation person that he was sent as an agent to disrupt the community. I'm not even saying that, because I got a scholarship to go to Washington University in St. Louis. I don't believe I'm an agent sent here to disrupt the community. I chose to want to empower my community, to bring the knowledge I learned and acquired from my studies back to my community to empower my community. So this is not to say that Justin is an agent. I don't believe it, but at the same time, he is a part of some agenda because I don't agree with the gun law thing. Like uh, they protesting about guns. Like Tennessee, you don't have to have a license to carry a gun in Tennessee. Like it's an open and carry state. I mean, Tennessee's like yeah, you can have guns. We very gun friendly in Tennessee. My thing is, why do the Democratic Party want to take guns away from black people in Tennessee? Because Justin is from Memphis. He represents District 86. I think that's Memphis and Militant, which is right outside of Memphis. It's basically Memphis. Militant is where the Navy base is located for us. And also, that's the hometown of Justin Timberlake. Now he claimed Memphis, but Militant is basically a part of Memphis. This is a little small town. And why is it that we need to take guns away from the blackest part of Tennessee? What is that about? I don't agree with the gun stance. People kill people. Guns are tools. Like you could kill somebody with a plastic fork. You could kill people with people take you could kill a person with an icicle, and then the evidence can melt. People could get killed with icicles. You could stab somebody with an icicle in the eye, whatever, and the evidence will melt. So are we going to ban icicles? Are we going to ban plastic forks? And what's killing more people? I'll be joking about this, but I'm serious. What's killing more people? Guns or high fructose corn syrup? What's killing more people? McDonald's or Smith and Wesson? I'm just saying. I'm just joking. It's jokes, y'all. Don't take it seriously. But then take it seriously, but don't take it seriously because this is a joke to me. Like, so we're all about making sure that we take away black folks' access to Second Amendment rights. Because, like, yes, I realize that a lot of our car break-ins in the city of Memphis is about them looking for guns. Like, my car got broken into once, but it got violated twice. They broke the glass, but didn't break through all the way. Then the second time they did break the glass on my car and was able to get in my car. And so they went through looking for everything. Now they were only looking for guns. They couldn't find it because I don't keep guns. And it's funny, like I'm for the Second Amendment, but I don't do the gun thing right now. At least not right now. It could change very soon. But I don't agree with them trying to take away American citizens' guns when the Democratic Party a bunch of hypocrites. How are you going to take away American citizens' guns, then give guns and weapons to Ukraine? They not American citizens. You give guns and weapons to Israel. They not American citizens, right? I mean, like, everybody could be armed except for American citizens. This is not the fight, because to me, the issue is not guns, it's economics. It's not guns, it's economics, it's education. If this was about the Bahia pipeline, instead of what it's about, I could be more in solidarity with Justin and the Tennessee Three on this. But this gun thing is not the battle that black folks need to be fighting right now. We should be advocating for more guns. Like Ivy Wells Barnett said, a Winchester rifle should have a place of honor in every black home. See, black folks are weird about the gun. We'll pick up the gun for Uncle Sam. We'll pick up the gun for everything and everyone except for us. We think something's wrong about self-defense. It's like with Dr. King, this Dr. King myth about him being nonviolent when he was kept alive by black men with guns, whether it be the Deacons for Defense, whether it be Charles Evers, whether it be Memphis police officers. When Dr. King had black men with guns around him, he stayed alive. When them guns got taken away from Dr. King, he got dead. You had the Memphis invaders. There's a lot I want to talk about, but I can't talk about it all tonight. Uh, there's a lot of things, man. I'm just one person. I can't, but we just, I just came from the homegoing of Minister Yahweh. He was known as, his name was Lance Watson. His birth name, Lance Watson. He called himself at one point Sweet Willie Wine because he got into religion while he was in the penitentiary as a young man. And he was paying homage to the evangelists from the 30s, like Sweet Daddy Grace and what they call Father Divine. I know Sweet Daddy Grace, and like all them black evangelists from back in the day during the Great Depression. He got inspiration from them. So he said, I'm gonna call myself Sweet Willie Wine, ended up becoming Minister Shakaro Yahweh. And he was one of the founders and leaders of this organization known as the Memphis Invaders. They were our versions of the Black Panther Party for self-defense in Memphis. They were at the Lorraine. Dr. King sought their help in organizing the Poor People's Campaign. They believed in self-defense like the Black Panther Party did. They had guns on their person. Dr. King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference had a room for them to stay in, but they was told to leave the premises by Jesse Jackson. And I like Jesse personally, but it's weird because they said Reverend Jesse Jackson came to them that afternoon and said they got to go, they got to get out of there. Or he told the staff at the Lorraine to get them out the room or the rooms, whatever they were staying in. And they say they left right before Dr. King got shot in the face. Now imagine if they were there with their guns. There would have been more than Dr. King dying that day. Trust and believe. It would have been more people dying that day besides Dr. King. But the key was to get the black men with the guns away from Dr. King that could have returned fire. Been a different story. Just think about, with Malcolm. Malcolm normally would have like 3 dozen police around the Audubon ballroom. They would have 3 dozen police officers around the Audubon when Malcolm would do presentations and rallies at the Audubon ballroom. Not because he said he wanted 3 dozen, but the NYPD said, "Oh, Malcolm rally, make sure you have New York City finest out there in full force." But the day he got killed, there was no police present until afterwards. And Malcolm did not check people. He said, "Do not check people at the door. Let them come in." He was signing his own death certificate when he did that. But the reason why there was a trial was because one of his bodyguards, I believe a brother named Reuben Francis, shot Tamal's hair as he was leaving. He shot him in the leg, I believe. That slowed him down. Had he not shot Tamal's hair, there would never been a trial for the murder of Malcolm X. Think about what I'm saying. And Reuben Francis, nobody knew what happened to him after that. He disappeared after the Malcolm X thing. But luckily he shot Tamal's hair in the leg. That slowed him down, so they was able to arrest him and have the trial. Because he supposed to got away because guess what? The government killed Malcolm like they killed King. Y'all keep on talking about some Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. All these groups and organizations have been infiltrated by the government. Even Malcolm knew that the Nation of Islam had a lot of police and law enforcement in there. You understand what I'm saying? So we're playing their game. These are their rules. So Dr. King get killed because there was no black people or men with guns around him. And when Dr. King used to come to Memphis, he used to have an all-black police security detail. But the last time he came to Memphis, he had no protection. He had no all-black Memphis police security detail escorting him, nothing like that. So this is like what we're talking about. Now, before King died, King made the observation. Harry Belafonte told us a story about how Dr. King said, "I think I have integrated our people into a burning house. I think we got sidetracked and we in the wrong place where we shouldn't be." But then he said something to the effect, "If we are in the burning house, let us be firemen and help put out the fire." But really, we should never been in the house in the first place. Like Malcolm said, what the field Negro would say, if the house caught on fire, they hope a strong wind will come and let it burn to the ground. Instead of being like firemen, we should have been like field Negroes and stayed outside the house and let it burn and hope for a strong wind to come along and finish the job. So we got sidetracked with the integration thing because the integration thing wasn't the way to go. Not because here's the thing: the civil rights movement, our biggest achievements came early in the civil rights movement. You look at the Montgomery bus boycott; that was a 381 straight day boycott. They had economic implications. They had the city of Montgomery on their knees begging the black folks to either come back to the buses or buy the bus from us, buy the bus company from them. And S.B. Fuller was the wealthiest black person in America at the time. A.G. Gaston was, I believe, the wealthiest black person in Alabama. They were successful black businessmen. They knew business. I believe that they approached Dr. King with this idea that the people wanted to sell the bus company. Dr. King said no. Dr. King don't know how businesses work. Dr. King is the spiritual leader and the figurehead of the movement, but he's not no businessman. He never was a businessman. Now you fast forward to April 3rd, 1968. Dr. King started talking about economics, about investing in black businesses, insurance companies, and banks and stuff like that. As soon as he started talking about economics and trying to get troops out of Vietnam, that's when they kill him. They don't kill him for trying to integrate the bus or try to integrate a restaurant. They kill him for trying to get in a position to affect public policy, to affect this nation's policy as relates to foreign and domestic policy. When he started messing with their money. So you had these powerful people that financed King and the movement. He had some powerful advisors. He had the Jewish lawyer Stanley Levison in his ear. It was like his brain at one point. Dr. King was a soldier in their army, in their agenda, like a lot of people are. Then he had an epiphany towards the end, but when he tried to turn that corner, they shot him in the face. So this is what they do. So I will hope that with Justin Pearson, that he won't let these Democrats use him to that extent. He's still a young man, but we'll see. We'll see, and I wish him well. Nothing but the best, but I don't know, man. This gun stuff is not the right hill to fight or lay your life on to me. Because you want your people to have your back. You want them to be armed. Because that's the way, like I said, I never get tired of talking about Charles Evers, Medgar Evers' big brother. He was a great civil rights warrior as well. And like he told me when I visited him in Jackson, he said Dr. King used to stay with him. He said Dr. King would not walk. He would run to his home. And he would tell Charles, I feel so comfortable because you got all the guns and goons. So Dr. King was very comfortable with black men armed around him who were protecting him. So don't let them talk about this, because even Gundy had a backup plan. If the civil disobedience stuff didn't work, he had the armed revolt on. He had it on speed dial. If the civil disobedience didn't work out, he had some goon. He had his own goon squad that was ready to put in that work. And Gundy, to me, is complex. Gundy was not a friend of black people like that, but yet people claim, Gundy, was Dr. King. Dr. King was inspired by Gundy, whatever. See, that's what they do. He was nonviolent. He was inspired by. Even Gundy wasn't nonviolent. He knew better. There was an option that was never taken off the table of them using armed force to get what they want. So black people are strange. We got to be nonviolent when it comes to our interests, but when it comes to America's interests, we got to be violent. We got to use weaponry, but we can't use it to protect grandma's house. But we can use it to die in a place we can't even spell the name or pronounce. We're willing to put our lives on line to die in a place that we can't pronounce or find on the map. We can't pronounce the name of it, neither found it on the map. So that's weird thinking for black people, because the West could not be won without the Buffalo Soldier. And people talking about, I know Dick Gregory said about Bob Marley wanted him to MC his event in Massachusetts at that time, and Dick didn't want to do it because of the song that Bob Marley did called Buffalo Soldier. And Bob Marley thought he was saluting, paying homage to Black American history and stuff. And Dick was saying what the Buffalo Soldiers was used as a tool of genocide against the Native American. But Dick, you also had Native Americans that owned black people. You had the five civilized tribes that fought in the Confederacy under like people like Albert Pike. Albert Pike was a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason who was also the founder of the Klan. He's considered the founder of the Ku Klux Klan. He was a general Confederate leader. He was a general in the Confederate Army. He led Native Americans in the Civil War. There's a Masonic lodge named for Albert Pike in Little Rock. He used to live in Memphis. Originally from Boston, he looked like a cross between Santa Claus and Paul Bunyan. It's an interesting dude. But he was the only Confederate general with a statue in D.C. until they took it down. You know, they took his statue down, the so-called people, like it was staged, but they just took his statue down with no problem. So his statue was right across the street from the courthouse where they had Abraham Lincoln statue. I went to the place where they had Albert Pike statue back in 2018, but they took it down, I believe, in 2020 doing the George Floyd thing. I don't know when they got taken down. I don't know if it got put back up, but he was the only Confederate general that had a statue right inside of D.C. Y'all talking about taking down Confederate flags from state houses, and they took down Nathan Bedford Forrest statue here in Memphis. But guess what? You talking about Tennessee? There's a 2,500-acre state park named for Nathan Bedford Forrest in Tennessee that's taxpayer funded. You got a 2,500-acre state park named for him right across the bridge over in Arkansas. You got a city that was founded by Nathan Bedford Forrest called Forest City, Arkansas. That's got a majority black. I won't say the majority black. They got a large black population. Matter of fact, the great soul singer, the Right Reverend Al Green, was born and raised in Forest City, Arkansas. He was born in Forest City, Arkansas, right? And that was a city founded by Nathan Bedford Forrest, notorious slave trader, war criminal, da 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 da, and first Grand Wizard of the Klan. So you got a county name for Nathan Bedford Forrest down in Mississippi, Forrest County. You got a high school. I don't know if it's still named for him, but there was a high school in Jacksonville, Florida, named after Nathan Bedford Forrest, Nathan Bedford Forrest High School. So, I mean, what's the point of taking down the statue, man? And why do you want to hide that information? But it's interesting. But with brother Justin Pierce said, it remains to be seen what is he in terms of the plan. But my thing is this: as I see him now, it's interesting. He know how to do that Obama thing, where he sounds like Dr. King when he doing his speech making, but when he do interviews, he got a different tone and voice. And people have a right to question his authenticity. To me, I mean, like he was very well scripted, but at the same time, I don't have no ill will towards the brother. I know last time I saw Justin was at Mother King's homegoing, and I greeted the brother. It was good to see him. Like I said, time will reveal. Like Baba Dick Gregory, the best way to do this is to pray at noon for the truth to come out. What are the intentions of this brother, Justin Pearson? What do the powers that be plan to do with him? Because Kamala Harris is weird to me. First, she was disappeared. Like they exile her to Africa or somewhere. They exile her to Africa. And now Kamala Harris, she coming back like she's like the next coming to Lyndon Baines Johnson. Like she gonna be like LBJ now because of what's going on in Tennessee. Is weird. The way she hooping hollering and stuff like that. Like they think they could do all this, like this preachy talking to black people. Like they think we're really silly. And we are really silly. Because I thought Kamala Harris was gonna be speaking in tongues at Fisk University when she was speaking. Now Justin Jones, the other part of the Tennessee Three, he went to Fisk University. And also he's from Oakland, California. And from my understanding, he's half black and Filipino, which is interesting. It's cool like that. But I don't know, man. It go back. I know I'm rambling. Let me see. What y'all saying in the chats? Yeah, thank you, Sis Loud Dog, for that. Yeah, because Dixie ended up doing the show. I mean, tell her the Tiger Woods. I mean, people say what they say, but I understand when you got Jeff Fort in the organization. Well, this is about Jeff Fort. Jeff Fort, you know, they made sure they had a split. They did COINTELPRO between Jeff Fort, the Black P Stone Nation, the Black P Stone Rangers, and the Black Panther Party. Fred Hampton Sr. was working with Jeff Fort. And then the FBI did a COINTELPRO thing where they sent them call them poison pen letters, where they claimed that they told Jeff Fort in the poison pen letter that, hey, the Panthers, they coming for you. They got a hit out on you. Then I believe they told Fred Hampton that the Jeff Fort and the Black P Stone Nation had a hit out on him. And then you see what happened to Fred Hampton. They killed him in his bed at the age of 21 next to his pregnant fiance. Um, and then Jeff Fort, you got to think about this man was functional illiterate, right? Jeff Fort was functional illiterate at one point. And yet he was used to get Chicago for Richard Nixon. He helped get Richard Nixon elected in 68 because his organization was able to get the vote out for Richard Nixon in Chicago. And they said that he was invited to the White House for the inauguration. That's urban legend. I think it's urban fact, but they utilized Jeff Fort organization to get Nixon in office back in 68. They secured Chicago for Nixon. It's kind of like how the Kennedys used the mob, Sam Giancana and the Chicago outfit to secure Chicago, that town, and the state of Illinois. But you know how they got Jeff Fort, though, right? They set him up. The government got him. And now he's in Supermax. I think he's in Supermax in Florence, Colorado. 23-hour lockdown. That's how they do. But really, in the alternate universe, Jeff Fort could have been the mayor of Chicago. Larry Hoover could have been the mayor of Chicago. Because Richard Daley, Chicago's about gang politics. It's a gangster town. So you look at Richard Daley, even before Richard Daley, you had Anton Cermak, who wanted to take over Chicago organized crime, who tried to have Frank Nitti. He almost killed Frank Nitti. He had some cops come to Frank Nitti's place of business and shoot him. And somehow Frank Nitti survived. And then next thing you know, Anton Cermak got killed in Miami, sitting next to Franklin Roosevelt. This Italian immigrant named Giuseppe Zangara was allegedly trying to shoot at Roosevelt. His aim got, he got off balance, missed Roosevelt, and allegedly hit Anton Cermak. But according to people like Lucky Luciano, they wasn't trying to hit Roosevelt. They were trying to hit Anton Cermak because of what he's trying to do in Chicago gangland. He was trying to take over the organized crime racket in Chicago, and he was trying to neutralize the Chicago outfit by taking out Frank Nitti. That didn't work. They ended up taking out Anton Cermak. So Chicago always been a gangster town. So the stuff that people talking about with Jeff Fort and Larry Hoover, if they were white, they would have been mayor. Hell, they probably could have been governor. It is what it is. But anyway, what the people are not talking about, I want to talk about this as it relates to the Tennessee Three, what happened before, because this was not a real president. Something happened like a year or two before the Tennessee Three thing that the mainstream media is not talking about right now. And I want to talk about it. Okay, this lovely young lady I met a couple weeks back, that is former Tennessee State Senator Katrina Robeson. Former Tennessee State Senator Katrina Robeson. Now, she's a good-looking sister. Like I said, I didn't know when I first met her. That was at the event at the Civil Rights Museum with Tyree Nichols' family, and Ben Crump, and what's her name? Joy Reid from MSNBC and Sheila Jackson Lee, all the who's who of right now. And so I was able to connect with her again, but I didn't meet her at that time. That was not my first time meeting this beautiful sister. And like I said, I didn't know she looked that good. I had no idea that she was that good looking. And I told her that. Now I met her at the Meet the Mayors, Memphis Mayor candidates meeting at Lamar Owen back in March 25th of 2023 of this year. I met her at that event, Meet the Memphis Mayoral Candidates event that was sponsored by the People's Convention. So I didn't know who she was. I didn't know people was coming to her and, hey, it's good to see you. I follow you on social media. And I went up to her, I said, you supposed to be famous or something? Who are you? I said, I'm Katrina Robinson. I said, are you the Katrina Robinson? Former Tennessee State Senator Katrina Robinson? Yes. I said, oh my God, you look so good in person. I mean, I just said I couldn't help. So you actually look, I didn't know you look this good. And then she took a picture. She was cool. She was very patient and cool. Got a great personality. And so let's see. Yeah, that's good people. Good people. But yeah, I got a chance. Then I ain't even recognize her again when I met her at Civil Rights. I said, so who are you? She said, I'm Katrina Robinson. I said, you be cleaning up. You can clean up. So I told her like that. But what's interesting about Katrina Robinson, right? Is that she was a Tennessee state senator. And she was the first Tennessee state senator to be expelled from the legislature. This is before the Tennessee 3, it was a Tennessee 1. Katrina Robinson was expelled from the state legislature under questionable circumstances. And I'm gonna read a little bit about Katrina, what happened to her, and then I guess I keep it moving. Because what else can I talk about? Katrina Robinson. And also her sister is Shira Wright. That's Lorenzen Wright's ex-wife, who's in prison now for allegedly conspiring to kill Lorenzen Wright, the basketball player, University of Memphis, standout former NBA basketball player who was tragically murdered back in the summer of 2010. And his wife in prison right now doing some football numbers for his murder, but that's her sister. So you can't help who your family is, right? But I'm just saying, I don't get no negative vibes or aura from her. It's like she's a decent person. And she's an American former politician who served in the Tennessee Senate from the 33rd District from 2019 to 2022 as a member of the Democratic Party. She was the first sitting member of the state Senate to be indicted since Operation Tennessee Waltz, and later became the first person ever to be expelled from the state Senate. So this is Black History. We just had Women's History Month. We just had Black History Month. So this woman made history as the first person ever to be expelled from the Tennessee state legislature. And they're not even mentioning her name because, like, what they got on was BS to me. Right? Let me see if I can read. Now, this is a woman that was very enterprising. Like I said, she's good looking, smart, ambitious. So they were trying to say she started her own nursing college. So they say in 2015, Robeson founded the Healthcare Institute, a nursing college, and received $1.6 million in grants from the United States Department of Health and Human Services. She received a total of $2.2 million in federal grants from 2015 to 2019. I made a mistake. I said loans on Dana with the Data Show. I meant grants, okay? So, Brother Ron, he said loans instead of grants. That means he's a disinfo agent. Nah, that means I'm a human being. Like I said, please don't look at Brother Ron's word as gospel, as law. I'm just a person who's interested in sharing my perspective based on my research and my own conclusions about things. And I want to encourage you all to form your own conclusions about things, right? So like I said, she received a total of $2.2 million in federal grants from 2015 to 2019. The Healthcare Institute started with 2 students and later expanded to over 600 students. Wow, that's incredible. Okay. So they said in 2018, Robeson was elected to the Tennessee Senate from the 33rd District as a member of the Democratic Party. On January 29th, 2018, Robeson announced that she would run in the Democratic primary. She defeated incumbent Senator Reginald Tate. I knew Reginald Tate. He was married to the A&R barbecue dynasty. He was part of the, people that founded A&R barbecue. And some of the best barbecue in the country is at A&R barbecue in Memphis, Tennessee. Right. And she faced no opposition in the general election. Tate had been censored by the Shelby County Democratic Party, and Robeson was endorsed by United States Representative Steve Cohen and Senate Minority Leader Sarah Kyle. Okay. So let's talk about the criminal allegations of conviction. In 2016, an investigation into Robeson was started after an anonymous complaint to the Department of Health and Human Services reported that she had used $550 of federal grant money to purchase a Louis Vuitton handbag. Okay. On February 21st and July 28th, 2020, the Federal Bureau of Investigation executed search warrants at Robeson's house and nursing school. On July 30th, Robeson was indicted on 48 charges. Listen to this. On 48 charges, 24 charges of theft and embezzlement from government programs, and 24 charges of wire fraud by the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Tennessee. The Federal Bureau of Investigation reported that her expenses included a trip to Montego Bay, Jamaica, which lasted 6 days, $2,929.26 spent at Wayfair, $856 spent on a Carnival cruise line, and $54,000 for a retirement fund. Robeson was accused of stealing $600,000 from $2.2 million in federal grants given to her nursing school from 2015 to 2019. She was the first sitting member of the Tennessee Senate to be indicted since Operation Tennessee Waltz in 2005. Okay. On August 12, 2020, she pleaded not guilty, but was found guilty on 4 of the 5 charges of wire fraud on September 30th, 2021. The 48 charges were reduced to 20 charges, and Judge Cheryl H. Lipman acquitted her of 15 of the counts, stating that the evidence matched to different theories, which could cause a mistrial if theories were switched during the trial. Her sentencing was on January the 5th, 2022. A federal case against her, Katie Ayers and Brooke Bordeaux, was dismissed by Lipman after Robeson agreed to complete a 12-month diversion period. Okay. Lieutenant Governor Randy McNulty called for Robeson to resign following her conviction. Robeson claimed that she was targeted for persecution, and Representative Tory Harris opposes forcing her out of the legislature and claimed that there was no evidence represented that she misappropriated less than $3,500 from her own business. Robeson became the first member of the state Senate to be expelled when the state Senate voted 27-5, with all Republicans voting in favor and all Democrats voting against on February 2nd, 2022, to remove her. Yeah, I saw my campaign funding disclosure lawsuit. In February 2023, Robeson was sued by the Tennessee Registry of Election Finance to collect financial penalties resulting from her failure to file 2020 and 2021 financial disclosure documents. Robeson was initially assessed a $7,500 fine in August 2021 for not filing required campaign disclosure documents for 2020. The registry then added a $10,000 fine after Robeson again failed to submit the documents in 2021. Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Scrimetti's office is prosecuting the case. Okay, I read all this to say she was the first person ever to be expelled from the state legislature. And she just so happened to be a black woman from where, Shelby County, from Memphis and Shelby County, Tennessee. And, from my understanding, It sounded like they could have let her keep her seat, but they didn't want her there because she was a little bit too outspoken about the climate and culture in Nashville as related to state politics. Like she called them racist and all this stuff, from my understanding. And I believe she was telling the truth because they are racist. And some may even be white supremacists. But I remember her having a defense of what she did or what they claim she did. She basically said that, hey, some of the stuff they accused me of doing, the good old boys, the white guys, the white politicians been doing it for years like that. My thing is this: we can't afford to be like them, though. I understand what she's saying because it's like what Adam Clayton Powell Jr., the greatest congressman we ever had, the greatest politician we ever sent to Congress was Adam Clayton Powell Jr. for Black America because he was phenomenal. But they got rid of him under some BS too. They always getting rid of people that try to do things a different way, and sometimes try to do things that benefit folks that, historically speaking, never had the access or privilege or leverage. So he was saying, well, I'm not hiding anything. I'm transparent in my dealings. But guess what? They don't like uppity Negroes. And I believe that this sister right here was too uppity for Nashville. She was an uppity Negro, and they had to cut her down to size. And that's what it was. But nobody's talking about that. Now, to me, that was an issue that was about racism. I believe she was a victim of that. Like I said, I met her. She's a good looking woman. She carried herself well. She got confidence in herself. If you saw her and you met her like that, you would have never thought she went through all the hell she went through. And I think it's a lesson learned. We'll see what the future holds in store for her. But they made a great example out of her. But it's like they always try to make examples out of Black politicians from Western Tennessee, in particular from Shelby County. Like it mentioned Tennessee Waltz. I remember the Tennessee Waltz situation. A lot of Black politicians got brought down. But really, they got brought down over their weird greed. To me, when you hold public office, yes, you're a politician, but it's more important to me to be a public servant. If they pay you enough money to do your job decently. Some of these public servant jobs, they getting paid 6 figures a year. There's no need to be corrupt and screw over the people. The people entrust you with a job to do the job. Don't screw your people over. So I think she was trying to rationalize some of the things that, like I said, she was accused of. Hey, they've been doing it in Nashville for years like this. Sometimes we just got to be different. And now with our brother Justin, y'all question his authenticity because of his afro and dashiki. That may be just who he is, man. Because I don't think he got no tattoos. If he had tattoos and cornrows, we all question his authenticity. People want to say, well, I don't know who this person is. There's a lot of people on here on YouTube and social media. Y'all follow Wild Fail. Y'all have no questions for these people. They're very popular, and they'll tell you they're a personal agent, and y'all go along with it. I don't know. I think we all agents. A lot of us like born identity agents. We don't know who agenda we serving. We can't remember our past. Everything is a blur. Everything's fuzzy, right? But I'm gonna try to get Sister Robeson on here in the near future to tell her side of the story and to get her thoughts about the Tennessee 3 situation, because I think she has very unique insight, being that she was to Jackie Robinson. Yes, she was the first to be the Mosewood Fleet Walker. Or was it Fleetwood Moses Fleet Walker? No, the guy, early Black baseball player. He came Moses Fleetwood Walker, I think. He just got into the Baseball Hall of Fame not too long ago. But she was the one that went through it first. And like I ain't gonna never forget what State Rep Town said 2 years ago on Dr. King's death day. He said, we can't do nothing for y'all, telling us in Memphis that the Black politicians from West Tennessee that represent us at the state capitol, they can't help us. They said, pray. He said, pray to Jesus. So I guess we got to pray to Jesus because we all we got. We don't got nobody that represent us like they should in state politics. And like I said, I don't agree with their stance on the gun situation. I don't at all. there's other things to talk about. Because like even with the police thing, like the Tyree Nichols thing, you got like I said, the Gershon Freeman situation, where that brother was beaten in a prison, in the jail. They beat that man to death butt naked. He was beaten butt naked to death October 5th, 2022 at 201 Poplar. That's our holding jail in Memphis. It's on one of our busiest streets, Poplar downtown, right? And Sheriff Floyd Bonner Jr., who's our current sheriff, he's the first black elected sheriff of Shelby County. This happened on his watch, and he's not bringing it up. He's more focused, like, they're saying, well, he can't run for mayor of Memphis because he don't live in Memphis. He's more concerned about that issue than about the issue of somebody dying like that tragically on his watch, because the sheriff is over the jail. So he had 20 of his sheriff deputies and correctional officers, both men and women, beat a naked man to death. And nobody's been fired or held accountable. I don't know if there was an active investigation involved, but you think about that happened a couple months before the Tyree Nichols situation on January the 7th, 2023. So you had a couple months between, but they got rid of them 5 cops. They decertified them and everything real quick. The police union didn't come to their aid. The fraternal order of police did not come to the aid of the 5 cops. They really didn't have their day in court or get due process. I mean, they denied Tyree Nichols, of course, due process, but it's weird how they did that. With them 5 black cops, they immediately got rid of them before any real investigation was done, I think. But yet, with the 20 sheriff deputies that were involved in the death of a naked black man that was caught on tape, nobody's been held accountable as far as I know. Because there was even 2 sheriff deputies on the scene of the Tyree Nichols situation. I think I don't know if they got let go, but they were suspended. So I don't know, man. It's weird how these things work. Like I said, Tennessee is a south. Even the John Morant thing, the way the gun, how he held the gun was weird. I would not want to be around nobody like that don't have respect for gun safety. I don't care how much money he got. It always reminds me of Johnny Ace. It was this was a Memphis music legend. Johnny Ace, he was a big R&B star back in the early 50s. He started out with the Bill Streeters, with B.B. King and Junior Parker and Bobby Blue Bland and Roscoe Gordon and all them guys. I believe he was a DJ at WDIA at one point. WDIA was the first black radio format program. Like, it was the first radio station formatted for black people in the country. That happened in Memphis this year. This October will be the 75th anniversary of WDIA inventing black radio in the country. See, I think I'd be over exaggerating about Memphis, but black radio was born in Memphis back in 1948, October 1948. But Johnny Ace was known for playing around with guns. Like, he'll be on the road, he'll be shooting at signs on the road while they're driving down the road. He'll be shooting at signs, and sometimes he'll known for pointing the gun at people and pulling the trigger and nothing happens. Sometimes he'll point the gun at himself and pull the trigger, nothing happened. And then Christmas night, 1954, doing a concert in Houston, Texas, in the back room, in the back, I guess in the backstage in the room, he had his girlfriend on his lap. Now, Johnny was married to his high school sweetheart back home in Memphis, but he got around like Tupac on the road. So he had his girlfriend, little fine petite thing named Olivia Gills, was sitting on his lap. He was playing with his gun, waiting for his turn. I guess his turn to go on stage, whatever. He pointed the gun at her a couple of times, pulled the trigger, nothing happened. He was pointing the gun at people, pulling the trigger, nothing happened. And then his label mate, Big Mama Thornton, no, you ain't nothing but a hound dog, Big Mama Thornton, said, Johnny, stop playing with that thing. You're going to hurt somebody. Why don't you just point the gun at yourself, whatever? People say, why don't you stop pointing at us and pointing at yourself? Or stop playing with it. And Johnny was saying, look, man, the gun ain't loaded. I'm going to prove it to y'all. So he pointed the gun at himself. Girlfriend was on his lap. He pulled the trigger. And according to Johnny Otis was a Greek-American R&B rock pioneer who's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He was a white Greek-American who chose to live as a black man. He married a black woman. He raised black kids. He stopped being white and Greek and became black. That's Johnny Otis. He said when Johnny A shot himself in the head, he had this shocked look on his face. He was so shocked that his processed hair stood up It stood. I don't know if that's true, but he said he like cartoon. Like he shot him, and his hair just stood up, his processed hair, and he died. He was just 25 years old. You know, they had his funeral on January the 2nd, 1955, in Memphis at Claiborne Temple. But that could easily be something like John Morant playing around with the way he was holding the gun, doing this. He could have ended up like Johnny Ace. You need to be careful. So anyway, and Johnny Ace should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's another story for another day. But anyway, what y'all saying here? Said, I know they had that ugly statue that was on I-65, I think. On you could see it from the expressway or from the freeway or something. I think that statue been taken down because the guy who owned the property originally, he died. It was a lawyer. But that was an ugly, cartoonish, ghoulish statue of Nathan Bedford Forrest that I went to visit back in 2016. And I took pictures of. I gotta find no pictures, but I think that got taken down. But Nathan Bedford Forrest is like, he's still like, they moved the statue they had in Memphis, got moved to some place to the national, I guess the national headquarters of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, somewhere out in Tennessee. They moved his wife and his remains to that spot near the horse statue, the equestrian statue. But anyway, you know, this is America. We'll see. Time will tell what you know what. Cause I was actually thinking that maybe he could run for mayor of Memphis. You know, give these folks a run for their money because he's so popular. He got all this media exposure. Now he's a national figure. Just like he's an overnight celebrity, like Justin Jones. No, I ain't on. And Gloria Johnson. I mean, people mad at her. I mean, they voted for her, and she's been there longer. And it sounded like she didn't really do what Justin Pearson and Justin Jones did in terms of. I think Justin Jones opened the door, whatever, let them in, let the people, the protesters, into the chambers or whatever. And I think they said Justin Pearson was on some type of megaphone. I don't know, but in comparison with the other two, I don't think she did as much. And also, she's been there a while, so she probably got some relationships across the aisle and stuff like that. To me, I don't know if they would really be effective moving forward, dealing with in that climate, dealing with those politics, with those politicians right now. They might have just, you know, be best if they moved on to bigger and better things, if that's possible. I think with Justin Pearson, they're grooming him to be a star of the Democratic Party. He's going to be a future up and coming. He probably already arrived. I mean, they got big plans for Justin. It look like. Yeah, well, Jeff Ford tried to buy the rocket launcher. Well, the government tried to sell him the rocket launcher, right? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I get so tired, man. I don't get the support. If I got a little bit of support that Justin Pearson got, maybe I would make a run for it. But thank you for the confidence, Sister Law Dog. We love you madly. Yeah, Larry Hoover's from Mississippi too. See, a lot of them black gangsters, they from the South. You know, you think about North Carolina, got Frank Matthews, Frank Lucas, Sergeant Smack, Ike Atkinson, Bumpy Johnson from Charleston, South Carolina. Tukey is from New Orleans, who were born in Charity Hospital. A lot of these gangsters, these black gangsters, become from down south. That's interesting. Yes. Hit the light, please. Yep. I bet about oh yeah, Hazel Scott. Adam Clayton Powell had a couple of wives, but Adam loved the women, man. He loved the finer things in life, but he loved his people too. Like I said, he wants. I mean, Dick Gregory spoke high praises of Adam Clayton Powell Jr. on my show. He actually knew Adam Clayton Powell Jr. personally, but he was the real deal to me. Yeah, Charleston writing, and I don't follow these cult of personalities. I'm not into that. I'm a different breed. Like I said, maybe 10 years ago, it's not weird. It's racism. I agree, definitely. So you grew up in Maywood. So you grew up in Maywood. You saying, but you was born in Chicago, but you grew up in Maywood. That's what you're saying. Wow. Yeah. So let me give a homage. Let me see. It's almost 2 hours, but I know I can ramble along. But if you like the words from Brother Herb, please subscribe, hit the like button. If I'm helping you think, because I'm here to make you think. Dot provocateur. Let me see what else. What else? What's this? Okay. I won't keep y'all this long. I definitely want to talk about this man right here. Now, this man should be a household name. He's an American hero. That's Paul Robeson. I can make that screen bigger. He was a giant, great man. Make it a little bit bigger. I love Paul Robeson, man. I mean, he was the real Superman to me. There's nobody like him. He's amazing. But they used him too, though. They used him too. Powers that be screwed him over too. But April the 9th was his birthday. It was 125th birthday for Paul Robeson, a man who should be considered a national treasure, a true hero if there was one of the greatest human beings to ever walk this planet. Extraordinary guy. When I tell you a little bit about Paul Robeson, you think he was made up. Because Black history is stranger than science fiction, and it's better than a Hollywood movie. This man was phenomenal. Like what I'm gonna read a little bit what I wrote about him and honor him. But let's we start out saying what Mary McLeod Bethune, another phenomenal Black person, human being, had to say. Paul Robeson is the tallest tree in our forest. That's what Mary McLeod Bethune had to say. So I wrote this on April the 9th, 2023. Happy 125th Life Affirmation Day to one of the greatest and most talented human beings to have ever lived. The righteous ancestor, Paul Robeson, was a force of nature and a one-man Wakanda man. This man was not only a phenomenal actor and singer, but he was also one of the first Black college All-American and professional football players. He was also Phi Beta Kappa at Rutgers University, as well as a preeminent legal scholar who graduated at the top of his class at Columbia University, which included future New York governor and two-time U.S. presidential Republican candidate Thomas E. Dewey. He was also a master linguist who spoke 20 languages fluently. Not bad for a son of a preacher man who was also a runaway slave. Possessor of a dynamic and rich singing voice, his rendition of Old Man River is considered the standard to this day. Paul Robeson at one point was one of the highest paid entertainers in the world, but he sacrificed his fame and fortune to fight a battle for Black, oppressed, poor, and working class people all around the planet. Paul Robeson was a GOAT artivist, man. Because of his outspoken nature on social justice issues and support of the Soviet Union, the U.S. government stripped Robeson's ability to make a living by taking away his passport and even sent folks like sports hero Jackie Robinson to slander his name in U.S. congressional hearings. He, along with William Patterson and others, charged the United States with committing menticide against Black Americans who were descendants of slaves and wanted the United Nations to acknowledge the claim. This was years before Malcolm X tried to do the same. And just recently, the United Nations completed a research study that states that the United States owed Black Americans reparations. Malcolm X was a big fan and admirer of Paul Robeson. It is said that Malcolm X mastered the arts of public speaking and communication by listening to Paul Robeson on the radio and to his recordings. Right before he was assassinated, Malcolm planned a secret meeting with the great man. One could only imagine what could have been. Unlike Malcolm and MLK, who both were mercifully spared, quote unquote, by the assassin's bullet before they turned 40, Robeson was tortured and abused by the wicked powers that be until he died at the age of 77. The righteous ancestor, Gil Noble, who was a superb journalist and storyteller, did a documentary in the 1970s to honor Robeson called The Tallest Tree in Our Forest, which features Paul Robeson himself, as well as an all-star cast of fans, friends, and admirers, including Harry Belafonte, Dizzy Gillespie, and Dr. John Henry Clark. So I gave a link in my post where you can watch the documentary. It's on the Internet Archives. Just look up Paul Robeson, The Tallest Tree in Our Forest. You can find it online. Long live the memory of the great righteous ancestor, Paul Robeson. We love you madly, always and forever, man. Okay. So there need to be a movie done. But, people talk about Colin Kaepernick. You even talk about Muhammad Ali. You could talk about Danny Glover, Harry Belafonte, Dick Gregory, all these people. But it's something about Paul Robeson. He stands alone. Paul Robeson stands alone. The man was incredible. And it's sad that people like Paul Robeson had to feel like it's wasted energy. Like, why do they have to fight for stuff that should be just okay? We should be, it's stuff that they force us to fight for. We shouldn't have to fight for. Paul Robeson was a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant human being. He was a caring, loving human being. He was a giant of a man, a giant of a person, giant of an artist. So, like, I would try to give homage to these type of people. People like Paul Robeson should be household names among us. But, it's sad. Because what if an NBA young boy grew up knowing about a Paul Robeson? Think about what I'm saying. So that's important. So rest in peace to the ancestor. Also, what they did to Paul Robeson was interesting. We talk about Malcolm X. Malcolm X was an admirer of Paul Robeson. Don't you know that they try to suicide Paul Robeson in the Soviet Union, I believe. Like, they gave him a real bad acid trip. They put something in his drink or whatever, and he was trying to jump out the window allegedly, but he was under the influence of some type of drug or something. So Paul Robeson, like I said, they tortured him. They did Dr. King and Malcolm X like old yellow. They put him out their misery before they could come of age. They allowed Paul Robeson to live to be almost 80 years old. So they tortured Paul Robeson. He was a tortured genius. But he did all this because he loved our people. It's kind of like, you look at people like a Paul Robeson, or dare I say Ezra Pound. We talk about Ezra Pound on this show. I compare, Kanye West to Ezra Pound because the truth he was talking about when people talking about he was on his mental breakdown and psychosis last year. But, anytime you stand on principle, you're going to look crazy to folks who don't stand on principle. You're going to look crazy to folks when you have your own moral compass and code. They're going to look weird to people that depend on society to dictate what they should be doing with themselves. So when you're doing things that you was meant to do, You're not going to always fit in to the status quo or what they're planning on agenda. If they can't control you, they will destroy you. If they can't control you, they will try to destroy you. So remember that. They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. There's a reason why they say that. But God bless Paul Robeson, and hopefully whoever hears this podcast in the future or now, may you be inspired to research more about this great gentleman and know that you are only limited by your imagination and will when it comes to creating the world or becoming the person you want to be. You're only limited by your imagination and your will. So remember that. This man spoke over 20 different languages fluently. Over 20 different languages. Anyway, let's check out, see the smart room. We all be tribe room. What y'all talking about in here? Yeah, he would actually, the movie you talking about, you say you just watched a movie of him. I don't think he was the king of Jamaica. It was called Emperor Jones. It was based on a play written by a white man, Emperor Jones. You talking about? That was a good movie with Paul Robeson. He did a couple of good movies, but that was Emperor Jones you might be talking about with Paul Robeson. Yeah, Malcolm did have good taste. Malcolm was a Taurus too, so he understood the power of communicating and stuff like that, the word. It is what I understand. It's a lot of, it's hard to, I'm thinking now, what would J.A. Rogers be doing right now with the internet, with social media? J.A. Rogers wrote all them books about hidden Black history. This is before Hidden Colors and Tariq Nasheed was even born. You had J.A. Rogers traveling around the world, who was a Pullman porter, but he was able to travel around the world to get all this hidden information and put out to the people. And he worked with Malcolm, And this thing about J.A. Rogers, I heard this story. I don't know how true it is. It probably true. J.A. Rogers was, I think he was from Jamaica, but he was a proud Black man, but he was married to a white woman. And he was working with Malcolm. He used to help Malcolm with his research. He was one of Malcolm's helpers, and we come to research and stuff. And I believe Malcolm went to his home one day, and I think J.A. was so nervous that Malcolm found out he had a white wife that he told her to hide in the closet, like an R. Kelly video, hide in the closet, right? And I think Malcolm figured out. I think she came out the closet, but I don't think Malcolm really, I don't know what Malcolm thought about J.A. Rogers having a white wife, but evidently it didn't bother him because he depended on J.A. Rogers to help him with some of the information he was trying to get out to the people. So that's the story I heard anyway. Yeah, Dr. Clark was part of Malcolm's research team. Dr. Ben as well too, from my understanding. But our people, man, we gotta stop like being so emotional. We gotta stop treating our politics like going to church. We look at cause I see how how people like it's hard to have a conversation. Like if I talk to Black people, I don't care they're young or old, I say something positive about Trump, they get all mad and upset. They just want to cut off, they just want to get in their feelings. Get beyond that. Okay. Because politics ain't about liking. It's about, at the end of the day, it's about respect and getting things done. That's what politics and power is about. Y'all be like, ooh, I think they like me. I think they like me. Ooh, I think they like me. It's not about, it's about getting some stuff done that you want to get done. Having an agenda, recognize what the agenda is, having a plan, and plan to act on the plan, a plan of action, getting stuff done. And that's why we don't have anything because, I think Dr. Umar Johnson said in one of his recent vlogs that we're worse off today than we was back in the 60s. And we talked about this on the Dana with the Data show on Sunday. And I said, yeah, because you got to think about in the 1960s, America was in a phase of a historic economic expansion. Like we were like economic boom. Like it was like this country was growing. Like even though we had all this racial turmoil, and strife, you still had the ability to make some money. You understand? Like you could have, like I know in Memphis, in North Memphis, they had Firestone in North Memphis. So you had guys dropping out of high school. They could actually go into the Firestone factory and make a decent living where they could marry their sweetheart and that girl could stay at home, that be the wifey, take care of home, and raise their children, and only one person be working outside the home, which is the man, to provide for the family, be able to send your kids to college on your work, be able to retire with a good pension after working 30 plus years. You can't do that no more. Them days are gone. So that was back in the 60s where you could able to work in family. Think about Detroit, how black people were able to, work at Ford and all the big three, whatever, Detroit and Michigan, whatever, making good money, owning homes and Cadillacs and stuff. Them days are gone. I had got an uncle Jimmy from Texas. I thought he went to college all this time. Now, what he did was he came from Texas and went up to Michigan, started working at the auto factory and making good money. And he was able to, my aunt Bernice and Uncle Jimmy was like the first black family in their white neighborhood. Like they was the first black family in the neighborhood, or on the block at least, in that white neighborhood at the time. It was like predominantly white neighborhood by a country club. So they lived by a golf course, and they were like the first black family on the block, if not in the neighborhood. And I remember visiting them back in the early 90s when I was just, the summer after fifth grade, I was riding my cousin's bicycle. It was weird because I ride his bicycle around the neighborhood, and I saw a little white kid riding his bicycle. I think he had his grandfather with him, something like that. And I remember these police officers pulling me over. And white police officers, one was in plain clothes. They pulled me over and stuff and asked me, what I'm doing in this neighborhood. This man, I'm 11 years old. I'm just being all innocent. This is my cousin bike. And they said, so what's your cousin's name? His name is Jim Brewski. And his name wasn't Brewski. That's his nickname. He's called Brewski because he liked to drink beers. But I told him his name was Jim Brewski. They looked, okay, you find out Jim Brewski. Okay. They probably said, this guy is full of crap. He's a smart aleck kid. So what I did was they followed me back to my aunts and uncle's place. I rode my bicycle. They followed me behind in their cop car. Then they met my aunt, and she verified, yes, this is my nephew, my great nephew, and this is my son's bike, da da da. And so they felt bad about, accusing me of stealing a bike. They thought I was stealing bikes, 11-year-old kid, white neighborhood, stole somebody's bike. But they said, well, I guess they called themselves apologize. They gave me this little plastic badge. I don't know what happened to that badge. I don't know if I threw it away. But I didn't think about it was I being racially profiled at 11 years old. I didn't think about that. But my aunt, who was originally from Mississippi, and she's an educator, she a long time teacher up there, she knew what was happening. I didn't know. I didn't think about me being racially targeted at 11 for riding my cousin's bike in a white affluent neighborhood. But now, and funny, a couple summers after that, my other aunt on my father's side, this is my mama's side I was talking about earlier, but my father's side, they showed me this newspaper article where they say the police was in trouble for targeting young black people, black and brown people, as y'all say, for racial profiling. Accused them of stealing bikes and stuff they weren't stealing and all that stuff. So anyway, life is interesting. But I don't got this LeBron James thing where I think about I'm a black man in America. Oh man, I'm so scared to be black and a man in America. Oh my God, I'm so stressed out. I don't think like that. I don't think about white people the first thing in the morning. What the white racist folks gonna do to me today? I don't be thinking like that. I don't really think about them like that. Stuff happens, but as I get older, I try to focus on more things that I can control. Yeah, man, stuff happened. Man, I got other stories. Stuff happened to me even in my 20s, man. Weird stuff. Yeah, and guess who sold us out? The Democratic Party. Think about, organized labor was sold out under the Clinton administration. They went from organized labor to the NAFTA, the North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement, right? That caused them factory jobs to go overseas. Then you replace the unions by supporting Goldman Sachs. Now Goldman Sachs is embedded in our government. That started happening under the Clinton administration with Goldman Sachs. So because you had Republicans and Democratic administrations had Secretary of Treasuries, or Treasury Secretaries of Goldman Sachs. Even the Supreme Court justices that Obama appointed to the court, they were Goldman Sachs connected. Obama's biggest donor in 2008 was Goldman Sachs. So the Democratic Party has done a great job in selling out the working class, blue collar American people. Good job, great job, Democrats. And y'all talking about gun control now. Sad, man. Also, Tennessee and Texas got a interest connection. You know, Dallas was founded by a Tennessean. A Tennessean founded Dallas, Texas. His name was like John Bryant. I think his name was John Bryant. He founded Dallas, Texas. You know, it's something about Texas and Tennessee because you know I want to say the longest serving Speaker of the House, if not, or one of the longest serving Speaker of the Houses. He was a mentor to Lyndon B. Johnson. His name was Sam Rayburn. They got a building name for him in Congress, the Rayburn Building. He was from Tennessee. You know, of course, David Crockett went down to the Alamo. He was from Tennessee. Then you had Sam Houston. He had a Tennessee connection. He served under Andrew Jackson, who also had a Tennessee connection, of course. But yeah, I think the guy's name was John Bryant. Yeah, Dr. King, some of his biggest adversaries were other black preachers. Those other black preachers. Yeah, John Neely Bryant. He was found in Dallas, Texas. He was from Fayetteville, Tennessee. Now, he went crazy. He died in the nut house. He died in the state asylum, the Austin State Asylum. So he got committed to the insane asylum and died there. And but he was the founder of Dallas, a guy from Fayetteville, Tennessee named John Bryant. Yeah, there's a lot of corruption, man. What are you gonna do? What do you plan to do about it? Or what can you do so your little light of yours can shine? Well, the Federal Reserve is privatized, but it got the name federal. It's like if Beyonce and Jay-Z named their next kid Federal Reserve Carter. That's how much Federal Reserve is actually federal. It'd be no better than naming Jay-Z and Beyonce next kid Federal Reserve Carter. Okay. So that's where we at. So I think that's it for right now. Let me get out of here. Thank y'all so much for y'all patience, y'all love, y'all care, for the donations and future donations. I want to thank, shout out to John T. Williams. Thank you so much, sir. And also thank to Brother George Holland. You said knowledge reigns supreme. Keep bringing it. I would do that, sir. Thank you so much. And all the people that are going to donate and support future dates as well. We appreciate it. If you like the words from Brother Hurd, please spread the word. We All Be TV. Also, if you want to support the movement, of course, you could cash out your support. Cash out $R2C2H2. That's $R2C2H2. You could PayPal, Google Pay, and Zelle your support. R2C2H2 at gmail.com. That's R2C2H2 at gmail.com. You could Vimo your support at R2C2H2. That's Vimo at R2C2H2. Apple Cash 901-299-4355. It's Apple Cash 901-299-4355. Also buy Artivist art. You see my art here. You can actually even commission the artivist to do art. Let's make a deal. I'm open to doing commissions. You see my work. You see examples. See how I get down, man. R2C2H2.com. R2C2H2.com. Also wear artivist art. Got my Jimmy Lunsford shirts. Is April is National Jazz Appreciation Month. So I got the Jimmy Lunsford, one of my Jimmy Lunsford shirts on. If you're on YouTube, go below the description box. Access our official Teespring shelf. That's R2C2H2's place. Teespring shelf. Get you a shirt with my image on it, man. So also you could be a member of this channel. We got memberships available. And I know you can go to patreon.com/weallbe. That's patreon.com/weallbe. Now, this is what I want to do. I want to, shout out to my loyal Patreon supporters. Shout out to anybody that's been supporting me. I'm going to do a better job of getting stuff out there to you all, the people that've been long time supporters. Right now, guess I'm in a spring cleaning phase right now, but I'm going to do some good stuff for you all who's been supporting, long time listeners and supporters. I really appreciate y'all. Y'all don't know how much that means to me. And I get texts and phone calls and emails from people. I can't always return everybody texts, phone calls, and emails. It's not on you, it's on me. Uh, Dr. King said human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. I'm definitely that. And just work with me, try to work with me, people. I appreciate it. But anyway, let me see what else y'all saying here. Right on, Sister Gail. Always good to hear from you. Don't be a stranger. There you go. I know people love that Tennessee whiskey. Thank you. I appreciate it, Brother Lucis. We love you madly. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of hidden history. It's like they hide it in front of your face, but if you can't read or discern, you'll never find out what it really is. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. I might check it out. You listen, this is a Memphis person. I would say October, because a lot of times Bev will help me on the show. Bev Johnson will help me on her show in October to promote the Jimmy Lance for Jamboree Festival. So we're gonna actually be like paying tribute to WDIA this year because it's the 75th anniversary of WDIA becoming a black radio station. Like I said, WDIA was the first black radio station in the country. Like it was the first radio station to be formatted for black clientele, for black listeners. So that's history from Memphis. So it's probably October. Hopefully, Bev will put me in, and you'll definitely be tuning in, I guess, Brother Josh. I appreciate that. So it'll be then. It's our 25th. What's that? What does that mean? I know it sounds slow. Yeah, they had a lot of things. They try to keep you from learning how to do cursive writing now. They got this new math. But let me read the disclaimer so I can get on out and y'all can go to sleep. Or y'all do what y'all do. If y'all have a problem sleeping, listen to Waitlist by McCartney Union. That's a powerful song. If you on YouTube, get that 10-hour loop on YouTube for McCartney Union. But yeah, it's been fun. But the time I always fly. I'll be saying I'm gonna do more of these shows. Man, these shows take a lot of energy for me anyway. I can't speak for nobody else because I be so much stuff going on with me. But just pray for me. Pray good thoughts. As I appreciate it more than you know. I'm trying to figure this out. Let me see. So let me read the disclaimer and we out of here. If I can find a disclaimer, I should know about heart actually. Disclaimer: the views expressed by hosts and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group Incorporated. We All Be News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that is usually supplied by the corporate news entities with those viewpoints and expressions which may be marginalized or ignored for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information, and letting the general public be the ultimate judge and decide on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens. Thank you for your support. And I thank y'all from the bottom of my heart and from the depths of my soul for supporting your brother Ron, because we all be in it to win it. That's why I said, Yeah, you know me well. It is the 25th year. Did we go to school together, Gail? You know how to contact me. Let me know. I'll get one soon enough. He said second or third. Okay, could be. Thank you so much, Uncle Come. That means a lot. I mean, my work has not been in vain. Love y'all madly. Y'all take care of yourself. And I'm outie. Until next time, we all be in it to win it. One love, man. Can I see the love? Can you see? I'm trying to do it right. I don't know. Is that love? It's like that's a weird heart, right? Agree to heart. It's something like that. Okay. I need some sleep. All right. I think God bless. Peace.